You have questions, we have answers. This is Jane Muller.
And this is Ken Muller. Welcome to our show, all about real estate with Ken and Jane. So for today's topic, Jane, I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball. We're going to talk about football.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Just kidding. All I want to do is ask you one thing. Since this is a sports show, it's Fox Sports. Give me your predictions for this weekend's AFC and NFC championship game.
Unfortunately, I don't know who played with who.
Oh, you know,
I'm sorry.
But you know who lost, right? You know, one of them. You know, your
Oh,
favorite.
no. Oh, no. I love Tom Brady. I'm sorry. That's my
about
star.
All you know.
That's all I know.
You know, Tom Brady, you know the Patriots. That's about
That's
it.
right.
Okay. So,
That's
so
right.
I won't hold you to the gun on that. We'll get into the show. All right. I had to give a little bit of a sports thing since we're right in the midst of the football season.
Absolutely.
Heading towards Super Bowl Sunday. So, all right, let's get back to the real estate, what we're good at.
That's definitely what I'm good at.
Right, okay, yeah. So,
and the football, I mean, once remember it was so funny. Someone said a team name. I didn't know was baseball or football.
Right.
It said, which team was that?
You knew it was a sport. That's about it.
Exactly. I know that was a sport. That's all it is.
Well, at least you know Brady, Belichick. Those are the two.
That's
guys.
right.
You saw me watching enough sports over the last
Yes.
20 years to see that Belichick and Brady are always on the TV. So there you go.
A long time ago, there was a player called Tiki.
Tiki Barber.
Barber. Yeah, that's what I know.
Right,
I saw him enough when you watch.
Yeah,
So
he's a good guy too. Yeah, he's an announcer now as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's recap what we spoke about last week. We were talking about the sellers and is it the right time to sell?
Yes.
We went over different things the seller has to consider, namely they have to have a place to go, there has to be a good reason to sell. You can't just say you want to sell because the market is high. But if you ain't got anywhere to go, it's going to be problematic because you could be winding up in a higher, buying something out of state that costs more money. So you have to have a game plan, whether it be for the kids, for the grandkids, for the job, it has to be
for retirement.
It has to be for the right reason.
Yes.
Then we also covered getting your home ready to sell.
Absolutely.
Right, getting it tidy, getting it painted, doing the touch-ups, getting the outside ready so it shows well.
Shows well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we want to let the listeners know that if they missed last week's show, they can always tune in to you can Google all about real estate with Ken and Jane. That'll bring you to the Fox website where all the podcasts are.
Yeah, also we had the audio on the Facebook, Fox Sports Facebook as well. If you like to watch the video rather than the audio. Yeah,
right.
Both available.
Right.
Yes.
They can visit us at All About Real Estate with Ken and Jane. That's our Facebook page. So we welcome your comments.
Yes.
So now we're going to turn to your favorite part is when the house is finally getting ready to put on the market.
On the market, yeah. As soon as the house on the market, the most question I have from the seller is about the showing. So that's very important part. Once the house on the market and especially in today's world, within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the seller would get. Normally how the process we do is we put a house on the market and then we will email the owner to inform them your house on the market, if you want to change anything and let us know. And we also email owner link. So sometimes the owner is surprised when they got the email from us within 5-10 minutes, the showing request come in. Sometimes it come in very, strongly, like a 5, 10, 20 showing request.
But I think we should talk about also when you get the house on the market, there's the all-important step of getting the house, making sure putting the final touches on with making sure everything's photo ready. It's
that's
one thing.
right.
So that's where you and the team come in.
Yeah.
You go through the house, you help move things,
Yeah.
Off the counters. You make sure the photos are done from the right angles, and and the placement is perfect as well.
Absolutely. That's once again, when you put a home on the market, photo is very important. Just like a dating, right?
Yeah.
And if you never met someone you date, so obviously photo tells a lot about you. Regardless it's true or not, perception sometimes can be reality. Unfortunately or fortunately. So if the photo is really done well, and the buyer will be more likely would like to come to see the home. So that's a very important step, which is thanks, Ken, to remind me. Yes, that's very important. And normally with our photo, we have a professional photographer come in to do the photo, but we always helping the owner to prepare because at the end of the day, we're the professional. So, we know the little tricks here and there, how to make the room more appealing and how to make the angle, as you mentioned, right? And the small things could make a big difference. Absolutely.
Right,
yes.
right.
Mm-hmm. Once the home on the market and the showing, most companies today, they have showing time, the third party company. And most company use that. It's the real estate company pay for that service. But sometimes the owner worried. They call me, say, "Hey, I got a strange text or phone call from a number I don't know. What's going on? Did you release our contact?" The answer is no. As a real estate agent, we do not release your contact. But our company, Remax, use a third party like most major company called Showing Time. Their job is just to check the buyer agent who's calling, make appointment, make sure they are licensed, make sure their insurance up to date, and then they can schedule showing. The showing time typically working 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to pretty much 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. So they make the showing. We can request via telephone, call, or text, or email, or any combination, because sometimes our seller is still working. You don't want the phone, especially today. You could have 10, 20, 30 calls come through, because I always check with the seller, how would you like to be contacted for the showing? Some sellers said, "Oh, please call us." And after half an hour on the market, they call me, "Jane, please." It's like, can you just text me? I really can't handle the call
I think
anymore.
most people these days, especially the busy ones, prefer the text, because the text is just as effective. And then with the showing time, with the text, you can either put Y for yes or N for no to decline the showing. But I think the whole point, what you said about showing time, is that's where communication is very important, because most sellers may not have listed their home for 20 or 30 years, so they have no idea. So it's good to educate them on how the process is going to work, how the third party basically pre-screens to make sure that anyone requesting to show your home is a licensed and credentialed agent, and they pre-screen them, and then you get the call from the third party. It's not like the buyer's agents.
The third party hired by the real estate company.
Right.
So not any third party. So they have the duty to protect your personal information. Yes, the seller personal information. Right. And as you mentioned, right, and you can either text back Y for yes, N for no, or you can suggest the other alternative time. For example, you could say 3 o'clock on Sunday, and what happened that way, the showing time staff will contact the buyer agent and say, "Unfortunately, you cannot show that time. How about Sunday, 3 o'clock? And then the person may say yes, may say no, and then they will get back to the owner again. Once again, just like the owner to know, this facility is cost real estate company. It's not a free service. However, it's definitely benefit the seller. The reason is you will get information very quickly. The information flow very quickly. And one more thing is about the showing time. Say, for example, it's very frustrating for the owner to show. Say, you got a showing request want in the evening between 5:30 to 6:30. A lot of owners misunderstand, think they have to finishing the showing by 6:30. They should be there 5:30, and 5:30 get there before 6 and show. It's not. When the agent requests the time frame, either half an hour, or 2 hours, right, is for them to get there. You have to allow time for showing. And that's...
So as an example, if the showing window is between 5 to 6, like a lot of owners may have 1 hour for the showing window, then the agent could arrive at 5 o'clock or they could arrive at 6 o'clock.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that the showing has to be ended at 6. It just means that's the allowable window for them to arrive. And oftentimes, buyer's agents, they're running late, so they could even conceivably arrive 5-10 minutes after the showing window, and that's just the way it works.
I mean, once again, I understand how frustrated on the seller side, but to be fair to the buyer agent, because I was a buyer agent showing a house a lot as well in my early career, it's very hard to timing. The traffic, and most timely they're showing the buyer multiple homes in one appointment, and they may go through a few township. It really depends on how quickly, how slowly the buyer go through each home. And today's world, even more, when you showed up at a new listing, there's a long line there. So you got to wait, even though you have an appointment, but there's a line, you still have to wait in line to get in the house. So make it a more challenge for the buyer agent to control the time. And in case if, say, they request a showing between 5 and 6, for example, right? And at 6 o'clock, they're not there. You can most seller call the listing agent, which is good. But on the other hand, the listing agent could be on appointment themselves, right? The easiest way or the most effective, in my opinion, is to call the showing time because they from 8 a.m. to at least 8 or 9 p.m. you call them. So the showing time, you say this is Michael Smith from 123 Main Street. I'm the owner. I had an appointment confirmed between 5 and 6, and I don't know how I start my dinner or not. They're not here. So what happened is that showing desk will call the buyer agent because sometimes I do apologize in advance for, it's not right thing, but it happened more than often. The buyer may cancel or the agent may forget to cancel or last minute the buyer stuck in a meeting and then they're late, they didn't cancel. So that happens from time to time. So unfortunately, that's something, unfortunately. So I get a lot of calls from the seller frustrated and complain. The only thing I can say is I'm sorry. Because it's really, it's not really the buyer, not respect you. Sometimes something happened or the agent truly running around forgot. It's not right, but it can happen. So if you call the showing time and the showing time agent can call up the agent, the showing agent to confirm whether, what the situation is. So that's avoid your further delay. At least whether, how you're gonna go home or you're gonna start cooking. So that's hopefully this will be helpful information.
Right. So we're talking about marketing efforts. So the whole thing with showing time is really when you put in a listing, it goes on the multiple list system, it goes on Zillow. Other agents, buyer agents will see that listing, so that's where they would go through showing time. But let's talk about another effective marketing means for the house, namely open houses.
Yeah, open house is a big thing because a lot of agents have a different perspective, right? Sometimes they tell the owner, I have enough business. I don't need the business from open house. That's only for the buyer. Try to get buyer. I disagree with that because I believe as a leasing agent, right, when you have an open house, there's a lot of buyers. They could be from far. The agent may not be available. Or in East Brunswick, we had a lot of time. The buyer just came. They didn't even think they're going to buy a house. They just come for you mentioned football season, right? Mm-hmm. They came in for the, for the Super Bowl party. And they saw open house.
Right. It used to be, I think, the perception was that on Super Bowl Sunday that it's not worth having an open house. But that's not correct because a lot of people, they have nothing to do. The Super Bowl typically is 6:30, 7 o'clock kickoff. So if the open house is typically from 12 or 1 till 4, that's plenty of time. And so Super Bowl Sundays do draw a lot of crowd for the open houses.
Yeah, I have a very quick thing to share. Many years ago, there was we decided to host the open house. The owner went to Florida, and because as you know, I don't know about football, so I didn't know there was a football Sunday. Mm-hmm. So we scheduled it on the day, and the owner said, Jane, nobody gonna come because it's Super Bowl. I said, yeah, that's okay. I'm not watching football, so I will. That day was earlier, I think, game like a 4 or 5 or something. Okay. I can't remember. Maybe, yeah. But I said, don't worry, I'm gonna be there. You couldn't believe how many people line up. Actually, more people because they're gonna go Super Bowl party. So before the party,
so
they
got
come
there early. Right.
And then the neighbor calling the owner in Florida said, "Hey, I think your agent is having a party in your house. Yeah. Maybe they serve alcohol." The owner got worried and called me. I said, "What do you mean? What are you talking about? I had all this buyer line up, but it was a joke." But the owner got really nervous, so calling me. The neighbor was funny. Yeah.
All you had to do is turn on the TV there, and then
That's right. Yeah. Hey, we let's take a quick break. We'll continue after the break. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back to our show. We're breaking down the selling process, Jane. So we've covered the marketing efforts, getting the house on the market. We talked about showing time. That's mainly for the agents, the tool that the agents use to schedule with the seller. And we started touching upon the open houses and how that could be an added bonus to the benefit to the seller, where you can draw the Sunday or Saturday crowd in. And
actually, how we handled it, I feel is beneficial. I mean, people at the beginning think I was crazy. In this competitive market, our job is try to get as many buyers to know our home as possible. So the more showing, more interest translate more showing. The more showing translate more possible offers. The more offers gonna help the number as well as the quality. The offer, that's gonna help the seller. So I sometimes even, if a seller allowed a permit, right, we sometimes have a 3 days open house. We have a Friday. When I just started Friday open house, a lot of people think I was crazy. Said, who gonna come Friday? But to our surprises, right, we just sold we just had one home under contract now in East Brunswick, 17 Bearsley. So we had a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The buyer actually came in Friday. They were second buyer because we just had a home inspection. I meet the buyer because we don't represent the buyer. But I just met them. I said, "Isn't I know you from Friday?" He said, yes, we were second family. So we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or at least a Saturday, Sunday, or sometimes just one day. Depends on the seller's availability. The open house is to serve two purposes. Number one, we'll have actually three purposes. Number one is to advertise additional way to push promote the home into the social media. So the buyer will get alert, open house, and from the agent, from us, from the listing agent, from the all the social media platform, this open house. So they're more alert, right? Secondly, if the agent is not available, so they can feel free to come. Right. So that's why I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because now it's COVID. We try not to pack too many people in one day. So every buyer have their own schedule. So we make it easy for you. I believe that the more you make easy for the buyer, the better outcome we will have. So that they can come. And the third benefit, which is I think is really important in today's market, we as the leasing agent, we know the home better than anyone. We know the area better than anyone. So we will be the ambassador for the owner. And in our case, even for the town, right, town of East Brunswick, we are there to hosting open house to answer the buyer's question about the school, about the community, about anything. So that's really added benefit to the buyer and the seller.
And I'll give you a fourth reason. The fourth reason is it also can accommodate the buyer agents that can't get there. They can send their clients, and then most buyers will tell you, I'm working with such and such as my agent. So we respect other agents, and it gives their buyers an opportunity to see the house in a window where maybe they're coming from North Jersey or the agent is somewhere else. So we host and we welcome those buyer agents' clients to come to our open house as well.
Absolutely. So I think this is like through the cooperation, and we get a better result for the seller. So, the more we can help the buyer agent, accommodate their showing and be there and help their clients, and the better result. And it's good for the seller and good for the buyer too.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and as a result of all those, as a result of the showing time, the beautiful photos, the open houses,
and online marketing,
and with the market being what it is, it's just a matter of time before you get offers coming in today's market.
Yes.
That's not only to say that it's a reflection of the seller's market we're in.
Yeah, and also as a strong agents ourselves, we have a very big, huge database. So when the house hit the market, once again, we never promote a home not on the market. That's against the rule. The most important, that's just not good practice. It's just not fair. It's not good ethical thing to do. So as soon as the home hit the market, we will email that to our huge database clients. they will qualify. The clients have a pre-approval. We know their needs. All agent, they will have their own, So I market a home not only through the traditional MLS and online, and also I have a very strong connections with the other agents, as you mentioned, right? And I work very well with all the other agents, so build a very good agents network. So once we have a home on the market, and I'll announce to the other agents, so they have a buyer. Once again, we'll come to send to our open house. We will hosting, we will explaining, we will show the house, so to help the other agent out, so to get a better chance, better result for the seller.
Right.
So,
and as a result of all that hard work, it's typically yielding multiple offers in this market. So let's talk about what happened, what the process is, or what you can do, what a seller can do when they get multiple offers. Or let's say they get an offer, let's say you have an open house on the weekend and they get one offer on Monday and it's a full price offer. Should they accept it? Should they wait? I mean, there's a lot of sellers may be thinking about those questions. Do I take what I've got in hand, or do I push the envelope further and try to bid it over asking price? Or I know each case is probably case specific, but give some general guidelines on how you would advise the seller to handle those situations.
Absolutely. For me, I typically, once we have a strong open house and a house on the market for a few days, some agent will say, you have an offer, take it and run. But for me, I will take a different point of view. I don't mind to work hard, wait a few more days, push it further, because the offer is like you put a seed on the soil. You still need time. You still need water. You still need the sunlight. You still give a little time. So normally I would do is I would advise the owner, wait a little bit longer, right? And promote more, and maybe have a second round open house. Open houses Friday, maybe second week. I typically not do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I only probably do the Saturday, Sunday, or just one day. So, and see. And once again, it's case by case, really, case by case. It depends on the seller. A lot of time, the decision making is driven by the seller. Some seller, for them, the price is most important. So, get as high as possible. But I always say, if that is your goal, you really have to think, whether the terms is equally, because you may choose a high offer. At the end, if other issue kick in, and you may not get as much as they think on the paper, right? So that's have to bear in mind. And some seller, in contrary, they care about other terms. Say they want the process to be as smooth as possible.
Correct.
Or they have a particular closing date in mind. So they
it could be the timing. I think we covered that on previous shows. Price may be the ultimate factor, but oftentimes it's not. It could be the timing.
Yeah.
It could be also the likability. The seller, like in the example I gave, they may find that the couple or whomever made that first offer, they seem to have met the buyer, and they really clicked at the interaction, and they said, you know what, we really like that buyer, we like the family, they're from such and such, and we just feel a connection with them.
Yeah, so I had a good story to share.
Yep.
A long time ago, that was before today's craziness. That was many years ago. That time still buyer market. So the seller had a dog, right, and then they have to be home for the showing, and. So we had a 6 showing for the first day on the market. That time, that's huge. That market, you have a 6 showing first day. That's really, really high,
this
right?
Was more than 2-3 years ago. Before
5 years ago. So anyway, so we obviously had a multiple offer after a week or so, and at the end, the seller picked a buyer. I said, "Why you pick that buyer?" The story was when the buyer came in the door. And they said, come on, Abby, come on, Abby. And then the seller turned around and said, how do you know my dog name? The buyer said, no, my daughter's name is Abby. So they instantly had that connection.
Right.
So the seller wouldn't take, I said that there's other buyers out there. I mean, some agent fought for their buyers. Said, why? I give you more money. I do anything you want. My buyer's strong buyer, 30% down. And at that time, you don't have appraisal issue because, you typically sell lower than asking. But that was over asking at that time. It's like very rare. And but the seller say no, because I think this it's a connection. So that's that can happen. So as I said, majority of our seller actually in the past years, majority of our seller just care about a smooth ride and the timing.
And the success, the likelihood that the closing will occur, the strength of the buyer, meaning even if they could risk getting $5,000 or $10,000 more, if they have a strong buyer in hand and they like the buyer, they're not willing to roll the dice because they feel a loyalty and connection to that buyer they have.
Absolutely. So that's normally, I mean, when you look at a multiple offer, right? Sometimes I only look at the paperwork because when you know someone, you easy to have the bias, in my opinion. If you only look at the paper, you compare with the hard data, right? Say, for example, how much their down payment, whether they waive the home inspection contingency, whether they cosmetically repair off the table, and that's a lot of how flexible the closing is, right?
And the waivers are really only a factor because we're in such a strong seller market for the reasons that we previously discussed multiple times on other shows. In a normal market, or let's say a non-seller's market, you would never hear of any buyer waiving. Rarely would hear of waiving the appraisal contingency, and rarely hear of limiting the home inspection. Even though, to be realistic, the way the buyers limit the home inspection is really, it sounds good, but it really is not a super limitation, because when they say the home inspection is limited to structural, environmental, radon, and safety, that really encompasses a lot of stuff. I mean, you could have a GFCI that's not working. You could say that's a safety. So you're limiting it to cosmetic, but really you're always limiting you're never including cosmetic as a home inspection factor in most cases, even in the pre-seller market. So the words sound good, but the limitation effect is really very minimal.
I think for me, right, Ken, it's not, it's just the attitude. You know what I mean? If you off the bat offer that, give seller and listing agent myself a comfort. Mm-hmm. You offered it. I mean, that means showing goodwill kind of thing. Even though I understand, I agree with you, the word doesn't really mean what's the paper written on, right. But it's still goodwill. If you compare with the 8 offer, for example, some offer didn't even mention that. So either that agent didn't explain to the buyer about a home inspection, or they explained the buyer wouldn't want to give up. So most likely, I mean, once again, that's not a concrete. Most likely, you may have a more bumpy road down the track. So if the person loved the home so much, with the appraisal contingency and everything, that's really, really, shows.
Right. It could show good faith and good intention. I mean, not always. There's sometimes where the lawyer may change their mind, but yeah, at least it's promising at the beginning.
That's right. So once the seller go through the offers with with the agent. Mm-hmm. So once you decided which one to accept it, and you can just.
We got to wrap it up. We're running out of time. Just give me a pick this week. Cincinnati is against Kansas City. Cincinnati is Neil's team. So who are you going to go with?
I don't know.
Well, give a pick. Come on. Just so.
I would say Cincinnati.
All right,
then.
There you go. All right. All right, you heard it. Let's see what happens. That's Jane Muller's pick. So we're running out of time. We're going to continue this discussion the next show, and we'll see everyone next week, and have a great weekend.
Enjoy your Super Bowl. Thank you. I like the party. I like the food. That's about it.
It's not Super Bowl weekend then.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not. I'm sorry. You see how bad I am.
All right.
Okay, thank you.